China, 1949. In the heart of Beijing, on Tiananmen Square, Mao Zedong steps forward and declares the founding of the People's Republic of China. A new chapter begins, not just for China, but for the global communist movement. Mao has spent decades fighting for this moment. Now he leads the largest nation on earth. His government is called a People's Democratic, but real democracy is nowhere in sight. At the top sits the Communist. True power lies within a small circle, the Politburo, and above that, the 5-member Politburo Standing Committee. Among them, Liu Shaoqi, a veteran organizer trained in Moscow, Zhou Enlai, a revolutionary hero and skilled diplomat, and of course, Mao himself. The undisputed leader. Mao is 55, a peasant's son, a revolutionary thinker, and now, a global political force. By his side is his fourth wife, Jiang Qing, a former actress, fiercely loyal and politically ambitious. China is devastated by decades of war and foreign invasion. The economy is broken. Millions live in poverty. Mao's government promises to rebuild fast. 10,000 Soviet advisors flood into China, helping shape the new regime. At this time, China is still a peasant nation. 4 out of every 5 Chinese live in rural areas. For years, Mao's revolution promised land to the peasants. Now, that promise is fulfilled. Landowners are targeted as enemies of the people. They are put on trial, humiliated, and in many cases, executed. Over 1 million people are killed. Their land is redistributed. And 300 million peasants receive land for the first time. Massive propaganda campaigns sweep across the country. New laws promote women's rights. Simplified Chinese is introduced to boost literacy. At the same time, counter-revolutionaries are hunted down. Capitalists, landlords, nationalist sympathizers, anyone not loyal to the party, thousands, are imprisoned or worse. Mao is remaking Chinese society from the ground up. Abroad, China's communist government finds itself isolated. The West refuses to recognize Mao's regime. Instead, it continues to support Chiang Kai-shek, now exiled, to Taiwan. In late 1949, Mao travels to Moscow to meet Stalin. Their talks are tense, but in 1950, to sign a treaty of friendship and alliance. Meanwhile, the plie moves to reclaim lost territories. Xinjiang is reoccupied in 1949. Tibet follows in 1951. But Taiwan remains outside of communist control, a flashpoint that will spark future conflict. War erupts in Korea. The North invades the South. The U.S. and its allies intervene. When UN forces push to the Chinese border, Mao responds. He sends over 1 million troops to fight. China's intervention turns the tide. After brutal fighting, the war ends in stalemate. For China, it's a political victory, proof that they can face down a global superpower, but the cost is immense. Over 500,000 Chinese troops are killed, including Mao's own son, Mao Anying. Back home, China launches its first 5-year plan in 1953, modeled after Soviet strategies. With Soviet help, steel, coal, and railroads expand rapidly. Agriculture is next. By 1956, most farmers are in cooperatives, sharing land, tools, and food. But it's not just economics. It's ideological. The party wants full control of rural life. In 1956, Mao briefly encourages open criticism. Let 100 flowers bloom, he says. Scholars and intellectuals speak up. But Mao is furious. The anti-rightist campaign begins. 500,000 people are persecuted, many for simply expressing an opinion. One of the leaders of this crackdown is Deng Xiaoping, a loyal revolutionary and rising power in the party. Mao launches his most ambitious plan yet. The Great Leap Forward. Tens of thousands of communes replace villages. Private farming is banned. People live in collective canteens. Even cooking at home is forbidden. And in every backyard, makeshift furnaces meant to produce steel, but it's all a disaster. Officials lie about harvests. The state takes too much grain, and when drought strikes, there's no food left. Famine sweeps across the countryside. Up to 45 million people die, one of the worst man-made disasters in history. In 1959, Defense Minister Peng Dewa dares to criticize Mao. He is removed and silenced. His replacement is Lin Bo, loyal to Mao, and a key player in the years ahead. After the catastrophe, Mao steps back. Day-to-day control passes to more pragmatic leaders, Liu Shaoqi, Zhou Enlai, and Deng Xiaoping. Some of Mao's policies are rolled back. Land is partially decollectivized. Canteens are closed. Private farming is cautiously allowed. In 1958, pinyin system is introduced, a new way to write Chinese and Roman letters. Peking becomes Beijing. Nanking becomes Nanjing. But Mao remains aggressive on the world stage. In 1958, he shells islands held by Taiwan. The US responds with nuclear threats. Mao's reckless behavior angers the Soviets. When Khrushchev denounces Stalin, Mao breaks with him entirely. Tibet rebels, Chinese forces crush the uprising. The Dalai Lama flees to India. 3 years later, war breaks out with India. China wins, and the Soviets take India's side. By now, the Soviets have pulled their technical advisors. But China is no longer reliant on foreign help. In 1964, China tests its first atomic bomb. 2 years later, it detonates a hydrogen bomb. China has become the world's 5th nuclear power. By the early 1960s, Mao's revolution has changed China forever. But his hunger for transformation is far from over.